second Make Life Merry Challenge webinar. We are so freaking excited.
We are so excited. We're so excited you're all here.
Yeah, we've had a blast of a week and a half with all of you guys, and we're just blown away with how well everybody's been doing and how positive the group has been. It's like we keep telling everyone it's bursting good vibes, which is
amazing.
epic.
And all your food pictures look delicious, so amazing.
Yeah. But today we're here because we have the amazing, we've got Kathy on already. She's saying hi, which is really exciting. Definitely everybody comment when you arrive so we can know that you're here and you're hearing everything.
Yeah, let us know if you can hear us okay.
Yeah. But as we were saying, we have Michele Chevalley Hedge, who we're very good friends with. We met about a year and a half ago, and Michelle's absolutely amazing. I'm going to just go over Michelle's bio quickly that I'm sure you've all had a read of, but it's always nice to get a little refresh. So Michele is a nutritional medicine practitioner, author and founder of A Healthy View. Michele has a huge understanding of the challenges faced when trying to incorporate good nutrition into a fast-paced life and family. She believes that extremes don't work, but real food does. And she's here to share her nutritional knowledge with you in a fun, easy to understand way, which fits perfectly with the Merrymaker life.
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, Nat's on as well. Hey, Nat. So good to have you here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass it over to Michele. Michelle's going to give you a brief overview of her journey and all, her knowledge and what she does, so we can get to know her. And then we're going to get into your questions, which will be the juicy part. So over to you, Michele.
Oh, thank you very much, Carla and Emma. You know, it is always such a joy to be around you girls. It's so contagious, your energy, your smile. And one thing I always think about when I'm with you is, as you know, a lot of my talks are vitality, energy, and serotonin. And in my talk, I always say, when I'm talking about serotonin and the foods that create serotonin, I always say, everyone I know needs serotonin. And then I go, oh, except the Merrymaker sisters. We've got a lot of it. So we love that about you. So thank you, girls, for having me on. And it's always, as I said, a pleasure to see you and to see your journey and what you're doing. And it's an absolute pleasure. I've been in and out of the Facebook, not as much as I would have liked to, but a bit. And I love the questions, so I feel really lucky because being a nutritional medicine practitioner or qualified nutritionist is such a joy for me. It's such an honor. And so how did I begin my journey into all of this? Well, I created straight after I graduated from my degree. I straight away opened my business called A Healthy View, thinking that I was just perhaps going to see patients. Which we do, but it morphed into a million other things. But before I'd studied nutrition, I worked in the corporate world. So I worked for Microsoft for a million years. And before I worked for Microsoft, I was a teacher. So that, when I look at that, was such an amazing opportunity because it gave me the ability to be able to speak to people as a teacher and create big concepts and make them small, right? Mm-hmm. And working at Microsoft makes me be able to relate to people that are super, super, super busy, super time poor, but want to be healthy, but necessarily don't want an extreme, right? So anyway, A Healthy View was born many years ago. And in our practice, we see patients with everything from polycystic ovary syndrome, which I think we're going to talk about, to fertility, to diabetes type 1, diabetes type 2, diabetes type 3, which is early onset dementia and Alzheimer's. We see just about everything: ADHD, anxiety, depression, weight loss, everything. So we have 2 clinical practices, and I'm the author of Beating Sugar Addictions for Dummies. And that was so awesome to be asked by an international publisher based out of New York to write that book. And when they asked me to write the book, I said to them, gee, there's several other colleagues of mine in this space doing the sugar thing. And they said, yes, we know, Michele, but those colleagues said you've been doing the sugar thing for a very long time with an evidence approach, which was gorgeous. So it gave me the ability to write that wonderful book. And I've been talking about sugar way before sugar even became a sexy topic. So, so we do a million things. We do lots of speaking engagements, which I've seen you girls at, a million things. And, many people who enter this space of wellness often come into it because they have been unwell or something specific has happened to them. Well, I just think I'm just like any other 50-year-old woman. I've had just about everything. I've had a tough relationship with food my whole life. I come from a mother whose maiden name is Ciccarello. My father is Chevalley. Everything in our world is about food. And as women, we're no disrespect to men out there, I love you too, but as women, we're really, really good at beating ourselves up. Right? One bad day of food, and we're like, I'm not looking in the mirror today. I stick my little eye in so I can see my eye, but I don't want to look at my whole body. I get it. I so get it. And at one point in my life, I said, I'm going to stop this fight with food, and I'm going to learn how to use food as medicine and work for my mental abilities and for my physical abilities, and the two of them together, of course, build your emotional resilience. And once you get the power of that, man, you just away. And you girls, I know, really get it. And I know everybody who's on this journey with you right now will get this as well. Once you start to taste the power of wellness and energy and vitality, and you sort of see other people sort of going, wow, what she got? What kind of vitamin is she on? When it's really not a vitamin at all. It's just about how you're nourishing yourself.
Yeah.
So I have found my own journey before I became a nutritionist into this area of wellness so incredibly transformative. And, here I am, years later, saying quite often to young men and young women, but particularly to women your age, saying, girls, if you get this right now, you will save yourself a lifetime of beating yourself up, self-sabotage, energy wasting. All of a sudden, you'll have this expansive energy that you can be doing all these amazing things in life. So I deeply believe that I work with Black Dog Institute right now, a lot around mental health and food, and how food is underpinning that. We could talk a bit about that tonight. We talk about research with gluten and depression.
Wow.
So, as you girls know, because you've probably seen me speaking, when I'm speaking, I can speak about just about every wellness topic and health topic there is. I know nothing about nothing else, as my children say. They go, Mom, do you even know who the Prime Minister is? Like, you know nothing about the world except nutrition. And that's okay for now.
I think definitely.
Okay.
And the times that we've seen you speak have been absolutely amazing. Like, we'll walk out and we'll be like, oh, like mind blown, and aha moments
We
left,
always
right, and center.
learn so much.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you. Thank you. So, so you girls tell me where should we start? Should we look at? Yeah, you go. Tell me.
Yeah, well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start off with some questions that we got on Facebook. And as we go, guys, everyone who's listening in, remember to type in your questions if you think of something that you'd like to know more about and things like that, because we can jump back and forth through the questions that we already have and also the live questions. So what one are we going to start with, Em?
I think we'll start with Claire's question. So Claire Cook says, my hormones are unbalanced as I have PCOS. The main symptoms I have are irregular periods and acne, but eating paleo, reducing stress and exercising helps, but I still seem to have symptoms. Do you have any tips on how to manage it?
Absolutely, Claire. I mean, one of the things I, laugh about my presentations, and I say to people, I'll stay calm through the whole presentation until I get to PCOS, because it really, we see lots and lots of young women, usually between the ages of, let's say, 20 and 40, developing polycystic ovary syndrome, an absolutely enormous amount of young women. Now, these young women, they might be very slender women, right? So what I call a slender ruster. So I worked with Damon on that sugar film, and I was the expert nutritionist there. And so I'd always use the term slender ruster, and Damon would always laugh. But we see lots of slender women, right, who go along and they're eating grab and go, junk food, hidden sugars, right? And then, but they're slender naturally metabolism, right? And it's not until years later when all of a sudden they're wondering about their periods or their hormonal stuff going on with them. And all of a sudden the doctor sends them off a polycystic ovary test, the ultrasound says, gee, you develop polycystic ovary syndrome. So the basic thing of that is polycystic ovary syndrome isn't necessarily a pathology of dysfunctional ovaries. Most of the time these days, it's caused from high insulin and blood sugar dysregulation. So in Claire's case, I guess a couple of things I would say is if she just started this way of eating, give yourself time. Trust that the body is so smart and it will recalibrate back. Right? If any of those phrases or terms that I've used, like grab and go eater or hidden sugars in your diet and high pasta and white starches like potatoes and breads and stuff like that, if those have been things of the past, be kind to yourself and remember you've lived X amount of years and it's going to take a little while to unfold that, right? Now, we will often see changes in our clinical practice within 3 to 4 months. It just depends on the level of what the person wants to go to, right? I think if they're starting with something like you, that's fantastic. And then you can go to the next step. Sometimes you put people on a very, very low carb or very, very low sugar to start getting their insulin and their blood sugar regulated. And it's too much for them. They just go, it's too much. I'm going to take the metformin, right? So it's always our approach to take slow steps into it. So Claire, what I would say is stick with this journey that you're on, get comfortable with it, and then get ready to go to the next level, right? And that will make it sustaining for you.
Amazing. Thank you, Michelle. Ooh. I think we need to check that our sound isn't coming through. What happened there?
I can hear you.
Is that still getting it?
I think it's fine.
Yeah, now that's fine. I think we pulled out our earplugs.
So we'll move on to the next question, which is by Emma Nichols. And she would like to know how much nutritional value is lost when you prep food early. So at the moment, she preps on a Sunday. She chops up all her veggies, roasts some pumpkin, and then puts it in the fridge and won't eat it till like Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
I think that's such a great question. And I went back to Emma and I went like, fantastic. First of all, that she's even prepping on a Sunday. So I think that's awesome, because the key to sustainability or the key to making these kind of changes become a lifetime habit is preparing, right? So that's what is first half the step. For the tiny, minute amount of nutritional value she might lose by chopping it a couple of days in advance is so insignificant compared to having all that beautiful stuff ready to go, right? Because we all know this situation, right? If it's not there and it's not ready to go, then all of a sudden that's when we're doing, what's there that I can grab and go? What can I take away, right? And that's where things fall apart and you go in that downhill vortex, right? But if it's there and it's ready, I have a lot of very, very successful businessmen or businessmen that lead the largest industries around Australia. And they'll always say to me, wow, Michelle, everything that you said makes so much sense, but it takes planning. And I say to them, absolutely takes planning. I said, I'm not going to lie about that, but I will ask you this, and I'll ask everybody on this webinar with us. What in your life have you ever done that hasn't taken some type of planning and preparation to do well at? And if this is the only thing that we do well at, that this should be the primary thing. Because if we don't have this right, we can't be a good parent. We can't be a good friend. We can't be a good business person. We can't be create a butterfly effect in our family. This has to get right. And some people actually think it's selfish to get this right. But it's so not selfish. It just creates this whole entire butterfly effect. In my early years of working with Microsoft, I got to work with Steve Jobs, from Apple.
Wow. Amazing.
All the money in the world couldn't buy his health back.
Yeah.
I say this to everybody, right? You can't buy back your health. So do the things that we're doing, your programs, my stuff that I'm doing, do these things as preventative wellness. Plan and prepare. So go, Emma. I think you rock. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, we love that answer because that's what we say, that the best way to stick to it is to prepare on a Sunday. And I'm glad to hear that because I wasn't sure about it. So thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go on to Jess Watson. So she's curious about a few things. What are some symptoms you could be experiencing if your omega balance is out of whack? And also, in the lead up to that time of the month, her appetite increases. So are there any foods that we should be eating more of at that time to keep us content and healthy? And any tips that you might have just to help us not overeat?
Yeah, great questions, all of them. Okay, so the first question was, signs and symptoms of an omega fatty acid, an essential fatty acid deficiency. So there's several signs and symptoms around that. We'll start with the top and we'll move down. So when we have low fat diets or low fat and low essential fatty acids, our hair can even become brittle. Our skin isn't as plump as supple. One of the things that we know for essential fatty acids, right? EPA, DHE, fish oils, avocado, coconut oils, fantastic for our joints. Really very, very lubricating. If you were to take people like the two of you that have been on beautiful fat diet over the last couple of, let's say, year or two, right? And you would to pull fat out of your diet right now, your skin would change to becoming quite dry. So dry, scaly skin is often a sign of essential fatty acid. Also, the other big sign of essential fatty acid deficiency is, how sometimes behind the tricep, people get little bumps?
Yeah.
Little bumps and little dry skin. That's a big sign of essential fatty acid deficiency. Right? So those are some things. When we see people with really bad PMT and fertility issues, essential fatty acids are really, really important for balancing hormones, right? It's important for everything, but really important for balancing hormones. So when we move to the next question and we start to talk about those types of things, it's important to remember having good quality fats are so important in the whole area of balancing hormones, right? And it's hard. A lot of us don't get the required amount of essential fatty acids that we need. And what's very interesting is these days when people have ADHD or anxiety or depression, if they see a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist or neurologist, right, if there's something going on cognitively, one of the first things these very smart doctors who are becoming integrative doctors are doing is putting people on high doses of fish oil. Because brains are made of 70% fat, right?
Yeah.
So there's a real movement even before putting people on any kind of medication or doing too many things like brain scans or anything like that, is start to increase people's essential fatty acids through fish oils. Of course, we want to get that in our food, but sometimes we need supplements. I always say food first, but sometimes there's a place for that. So yeah, those are some signs and symptoms of that.
So Michelle, what would be like, in a day, what would be the right or the correct amount of fat, and how can we get that fat in our day?
Yeah, that's a great question because I saw that came up on Facebook as well. I'm definitely not one for counting fat grams or calories or anything like this, and I know you girls get that.
Yeah.
So what I say to people is try to be getting fat in every one of your meals, right? So, for example, at breakfast, most of my breakfast and most of our patients' breakfast would include a quarter of an avocado, sometimes a half an avocado. Seeds are a great source of essential fatty acids. Linseeds are a great source of essential fatty acids. So if I have an egg bowl in the morning, so eggs on top of any kind of vegetable, I'll throw chia seeds on or linseeds on. I'll take some nice, beautiful, fresh, extra virgin olive oil or any kind of macadamia nut oil, walnut oil, any of those nut oils, right? Because they really are quite flavorful. Those are all beautiful fats to be having, right? So then if I have morning tea or my patients have morning tea, quite often they're nuts, right? So full of protein, full of fat, but no sugar, right? But a great way, again, to get lots of fats. You know, when people, particularly older people, you know, not young bunnies like you girls, but older women like me, they've gone through this fear of fat, right? So when to say, okay, now at lunch, I want you to have another bit of avocado. They go, oh, you know, and I say, trust me, eating fat and eating protein and lots of vegetables, you are not going to get fat. We're going to gain weight and get bloated is things like breads, pastas, all those types of things, right? So lunchtime, I would find some kind of fat, you know, or sometimes, you know, well, I have coconut oil on different things. I cook a lot. My sweet potatoes are always in coconut oil. If I have a smoothie, I like to put coconut oil in it. I always say to people, you know, stop fearing coconut oil and coconut milk. So many people, older people, think, oh, that's such a taboo, right? So I would think about adding fat in every meal, and then even in between meals, you know. So, you know, if it's afternoon tea and you're making a smoothie, have some coconut oil in it. Again, chia seeds and linseeds are a great way to add that into your diet. I mean, if you don't feel that you're getting enough of that, we have salmon or trout in our house. So cold water fish will be quite oily, right? So I would have that in my family 2 or 3 times a week. You know, I disguise it for my children, but I know the benefits of that. As a child, I had very bad psoriasis, right? Really bad, really, really bad. And so when you start adding lots of good essential fatty acids into your diet, you'll see such a change in your skin, such a change. Yeah. So, okay, her next question was about appetite. So appetite segues perfectly onto this. So here's a big one that you probably haven't heard too much about, but I'm just about to do a story on this, is fat sends up a signal in our brain called leptin, right? So we have 2 signals in our brain, 2 neurohormones. One is called ghrelin and one is called leptin. We have lots of other ones as well, but in this purposes of suppressing your appetite, what we want to do is we want to increase leptin. Right? And the best way to increase leptin is to be eating a diet of the way we teach people to eat. And fat will create this satiation, right? So leptin creates this signal in your brain to go, wow, I'm satisfied. I don't have to be eating every hour. You know those people that are eating every hour, every 2 hours, and they're really hungry, but they're constantly eating, right? It's such a time waster. You know, I used to be like this, so I'm not talking from an ivory tower here. So, but those people often aren't having enough fat in their diet. All of a sudden, you start to punctuate somebody's diet with fat, and all of a sudden they go, I don't even feel like having morning tea, Michelle, right? So that's the thing about regulating your appetite. But if you are at that time of the month and you feel like you're totally having the munchies and the sugar cravings and all that kind of stuff prior to, a couple of things that you can think about doing is, I think, sparkling water and just hydrating in general, right? So don't confuse hunger for thirst, because everyone does that. So starting every day of your life with a glass of water, particularly around that time of the month, put something up somewhere to say, you know, drink. But, you know, because that time of the month, we are extra hungry. So One is hydration. I think sparkling water is a great way to be filling us up a little bit. Lots of lemon, lots of lime. I'm also huge on herbal teas. I know you girls are as well. So 2 herbal teas that are very, very good at balancing blood sugar, because when your blood sugar dips, it's when you become ravenous and moody and angry and hangry, right? Combination of hungry and angry. So you don't want your blood sugar dipping. You want to keep it nice and steady. So one of the things that we use quite often in our practice is cinnamon teas and licorice teas. Right, so the time of the month when you're starving. So, so if you're like me, who's a little bit extreme, you'd have a teacup like mine that has 4 tea bags in it. So I say to people, listen, if you're really craving sugar or you're really tired and you really feel like a hit of something incredibly special, go ahead and double bag it. And they go, wow, that's crazy, Michelle. So today you can see, yes, I started with 2 bags. I added a 3rd bag. Now I'm up to my 4th bag. But I love cinnamon tea. It's such a great, it's so sweet sometimes. It is not sometimes, all the time. And licorice tea, fabulous. Licorice tea, don't want to do is be having too much of that if you have high blood pressure, right? So licorice and licorice herbs and herbal dispensing of licorice is contraindicated in high blood pressure. And, yeah, and then the other thing she asked was, what was there anything else I left off of that?
I think that's it. Well, we talked about like preventing overeating. So I guess so the water and the things like that and the tea, like that can really help.
Yeah, and I think, I think it's very, very common for people to skip a meal or think that they're doing the right thing. I don't think that anybody should be skipping a meal while they're making a transition, right? So if this is something new, then I think people should be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and perhaps morning tea and afternoon tea. But I definitely believe having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? Then when you shift it into this new way of life, then you can start making changes and playing around or reducing the amounts of things and stuff like that. But I often see somebody in clinical practice who go, I didn't have lunch today. And 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I wanted to chew my fingers off. And so, of course, then what they do is they go downhill, right? Because they eat everything in sight because they're starving. And so I say to people all the time, have you had enough for breakfast? Have you had enough for lunch? And people always laugh. They go, Michelle, you're the only nutritionist that force feeds people. And I say, when you start to eat clean and you start to eat in this way, you can actually eat a lot of food. Our patients say all the time, I've never eaten so much food and lost so much weight and feel so good mentally, right? So I think it's really important to be making sure you're eating enough food in the style of clean eating, particularly during that time. And don't worry too much, overly obsess about your portion control. Everything that you're eating in your plans is clean, right? So if you feel that you're hungry, I always say to people, have you eaten enough protein and have you eaten enough fat?
Yeah.
And that gets them thinking, they go, oh, well, I had a small can of tuna. And I go, no. That small can is not enough. That's enough to feed a bird. I want you to have a bigger portion. I go, really? Wow, that's so much food. And I go, watch and you'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've had that. I mean, we started off when we were doing clean eating, like we were eating like set meals and like we were snacking a little bit. And then as we went on, it was like we weren't as hungry, like we'd eat less food, and then sometimes we're like, we're not hungry for that, and you'd skip meals, but it would be fine, and you weren't hungry for dinner. So it's very interesting.
Absolutely, and the thing is that will happen to everybody on your program, but not necessarily in the beginning, because what's happening? Body's recalibrating, right? The body said, wait a minute, I used to fill myself with bread to fill up, and then I was hungry 2 hours later, or I used to fill up with bread, get this huge puffy tummy, but now I'm filling up with different things. So I always say to people, be patient with yourself, right? Learn to adjust, recalibrate. All of a sudden it starts to become a habit, and then you can start playing with portion control or dropping a meal or something like that, but don't do that to yourself in the beginning.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good advice. All right, on to our next question.
We'll go to Kathy's question, which I know she's online. So she wants to ask about perimenopause. And she's,
Premenopause. Is that what she meant?
is perimenopause a thing or is it premenopause?
It's perimenopause, but you girls are so gorgeous and too young for perimenopause. But it's
I have no idea. I was like, is that a thing?
Sorry.
there's perimenopause, there's menopause, and there's postmenopause.
Oh my God, it's so interesting. I need to learn about it.
We do need to learn about it.
You do. I don't know how old your mom is, but usually, it's interesting. Women, we see people go through menopause at all different ages. Most young girls like you would be thinking, oh, gee, menopause is for someone who's like 55 and older. But it just varies. It varies on somebody's health. It varies on the way their parents went through menopause. But wow, if you never believed that hormones were incredibly powerful, all you need to start going through perimenopause and see how significant the body changes. So what was her question on perimenopause?
She says she's over it. Symptoms started, with tubal ligation at 27. And the past 8 years, what's that word?
Maybe menstrual
cycle
irregular, but still turn up anywhere between 18 and 34 days and can last as quickly as a sneeze or drag on for 2 weeks with medium to light.
Hot flushes,
worsening. What is that? I can't read that.
Yeah.
And she's losing sleep. Her sleep pattern looks like a barcode. She was hoping that by eliminating sugar, potatoes, and bread and grains for now 3 months that things should have started to sort themselves out. So she just wants some advice on what else she could do.
Yeah. I remember reading this one. Okay. So 3 months isn't a long time if she has had a poor diet in the past, or not just a poor diet, but poor lifestyle, right? So here's the thing. People think that their insulin and their glucose and everything can go crazy just from food. That's not the case. If you have poor sleep, you can really disrupt your metabolic profile, meaning your blood glucose, your insulin, all those things that make you a slim, lean person, right? So a couple of things that she should be thinking about is 3 months isn't a long time, so be gentle and keep going because you're on the right path. She should be, of course, doing everything that you recommend. No white pastas, no white breads, actually no grains at all. But yeah, give some time. Absolutely, positively needs to work on her sleep, right? Because so sleep recalibrates the body, right? Really important to recalibrate leptin, right? So sleep will recalibrate and give her back some leptin resistance. So some of the things just to rectify sleep or to think about with sleep is perhaps even a melatonin supplement or a magnesium supplement. So I don't know if you have a practitioner nearby, but sleep is so important. I always say sleep, exercise, and nutrition. It's a 3-prong approach. So when a person's estrogen starts to go down, as in perimenopause, right, our sleep gets really disrupted. It gets disrupted in general, as well as hot flashes. So I'll tell you something about the hot flashes in a moment, but just with regard to sleep, really, really important just to try to get back there into a really good sleep pattern. So with hot flashes, right, what we want to do is try to think about having some estrogenic foods, right? And one of the things that mimics an estrogen receptor are flax seeds. So flax seeds and linseeds.
Okay.
So having that in her diet, maybe a teaspoon on a salad, maybe a teaspoon in a smoothie. I'd say start at 1 teaspoon. Try to ground up those linseeds, right? So what I do is I buy mine whole, I put them in a coffee grinder, and then I put a big tub of them in my fridge because in the fridge they won't go rancid, right? Yeah. So if they're out in warm weather, they can easily oxidize. So why do we ground them? Because you get more nutritional value out of something being ground. So I always make people laugh when I say this. If you eat it whole, it comes out whole, right? And you don't get all the benefits. So certainly in her case, she wants all the benefits that flax seeds can provide. So in your program, girls, do you do any legumes?
No.
Those are chickpeas, no, or anything like that? Okay. So, lentils are known to be a little bit estrogenic. But I think, what people forget is that our liver and our cholesterol make a lot of our estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So as we start to do this clean eating, right, our liver gets cleaner and our hormones get more balanced, right? So it's the whole process of just simple. Go back to clean eating. What are the things that are going to cleanse your liver the best and the most in your type of program? And all stuff that I talk about are brassica vegetables. So brassicas are your cauliflowers, your broccolis, your Brussels sprouts, right? So for what's this woman's name again?
Kathy. It is, yeah.
Kathy, yeah. So for Kathy, she should be thinking every day she should be having 1 or 2 serves of something from the brassica family. She should be incorporating flax seeds into her diet. Definitely get on top of a good sleep regime, and definitely be aware of how alcohol affects a perimenopausal woman. Like really send them just off the cliff. Right. So even I know I don't like to do this to people because I don't like an extreme approach. But if she really needs to get herself recalibrated, just come off alcohol for maybe a good 6 weeks. Really give that liver the opportunity to recalibrate, get a bit clean, rebalance the hormones.
Amazing. Great.
Gosh,
That's
so much amazing content just there. Thank you, Michelle.
That's a pleasure.
We sort of talked about that one.
Yes.
Either this one, I think that one.
Yeah, let's go on to, well, this was actually my question because I'm intrigued. What kind of foods can help with managing stress?
It's a great question, right? We always laugh in our practice. We've got several people that work at A Healthy View. And we do a million different things. And of course, the world of wellness is getting bigger and bigger. And we always get together and we go, oh, this wellness is making us stressed. I understand that it's your question. Okay, so when we think about stress, I think what's important for people to understand about stress, and I'll get to your specific question, but I think this is an important concept for people to understand. We often think that we're gaining weight, right, from food, but it doesn't have to be just food. What can start to happen is as our stress hormones are being set on fire for all of us all day long, right? We wake up in the morning, coffee, run here, run there, got to get to the gym, got to get on emails, got to do this, got to do something with the kids. My bosses want me in early. We're constantly in this state of go, 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 stress, right? So what happens is we're stressed, our adrenal glands start to go boop, boop, boop. What happens from our adrenal glands is our cortisol starts to pump out.
Yeah.
And this is how the body was designed, right? So that if 1 million years ago we were on Earth and a saber-toothed tiger was coming at us, our adrenals would go boop, boop, boop. The cortisol would go boop, boop, boop. We'd have enough glucose to go and kill the tiger, right?
Yeah.
The body works, which is so awesome. But in our world, what's happening is adrenals are going, eat, eat, right? Cortisol is going like this. Cortisol is pumping out all this glucose. Now, not normally we're getting the glucose from food, right?
Yeah.
This glucose is being pumped around in an excessive amount just because of stress.
Wow.
Right? So stay with me. You've got glucose pumping here from food, glucose pumping here from stress. So what happens is our cells, right, take in the glucose. And our cells normally go, well, thank you so much. You've just fed my brain and you've fed my muscles, and I love you for that. But when we have the situation of glucose coming here from food, glucose coming here from stress, the cell goes, I'm really sorry, but this insulin receptor that pumps glucose in here to make your body function beautifully, I'm really sorry because you're totally burning me out, and I'm going to close up and become insulin resistant.
Yeah.
You see how people don't necessarily get insulin resistant just from too much bad food? It can be a combination, or it can sometimes be purely stress.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy. But the reality is most of us have a combination of added sugars, processed food, trans fats, and this crazy fast-paced boom, boom, boom. Right? Setting off, we have an epidemic of people with diabetes, overweight. We have a whole entire world of this. And you can see how this is happening, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about magnesium, which is the great calmer, right? So as I said to you girls, we do a lot with supplements on a therapeutic level when people need them. But I always say to people, food first, right? So magnesium is what we call nutritionally the great calmer. So I want you to think about magnesium dense foods all the time. So a great way to get that would be through your seeds and nuts, particularly Brazil nuts. So
I love Brazil nuts.
I know. Oh, so do I. And they're so big, right? So like 5 Brazil nuts or 7 Brazil nuts and a big cup of tea as a snack is really satiating, right?
Yeah.
0 sugar. Right?
Amazing.
So I love that. So Brazil nuts have a great amount of magnesium, as all your seeds and nuts do, right? The other thing, lots of magnesium will be your green leafy vegetables, right? So I always say to people, ideally in a perfect world, and no one's world is perfect, to be eating a half a kilo of vegetables a day. And you girls would be, but it's not, like, it takes time. So if you're not there, people, don't worry, but you'll eventually transition, and all of a sudden you'll be going, wow, I used to have a beer fridge, now I just have a vegetable fridge.
We've seen that, like some shots of fridges in our challenge where they've said it's completely different now. So it's exciting.
Yeah, so lots and lots of those are good ways to get magnesium. The other way where you get magnesium rich food is dark chocolate, right? So I used to say 70% plus. Now I say to my patients 80% plus. So that's important. The other thing I want people to start thinking about with stress is doing things for themselves at night to wind down. So we get magnesium through an Epsom salt bath as well. Right? So our skin is our largest organ, right? So in an Epsom salt bath, Epsom salts are mostly magnesium. So we're getting all that magnesium through our body. So one of the greatest things that you can do at night is, if you're a highly stressed person, get yourself in a bath, magnesium bath for 20 minutes. So it's a half a cup of Epsom salts in a warm bath. Bring yourself up a cup of rooibos tea. Do you know rooibos? Okay, rooibos tea is a South African tea, and it's so full of antioxidants and magnesium. So put yourself in an Epsom salt bath with lots of magnesium, have rooibos tea, get rid of all of your electronics, right? I don't want anybody having this near their head at night, right? No way. And just remember that your sleep and your calming of your adrenals is as important for your health as your nutrition.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not sitting in an ivory tower. I've got to be careful of this myself, but I know it is a 3-prong approach to wellness. Oh, don't forget to rinse off when you come out of the bath, right? So just have a quick rinse off with the shower so all the Epsom salts don't stay in your body. But those are great ways.
Amazing. Now I'm going to make sure that I actually implement that, because I think that's what I'm missing.
Yes,
because I do not wind down. I'm like on my phone. Everyone would know we're on Facebook responding. Oopsie.
And you know what? It's so easy to do what you're doing, girls, and running at high speed. I know, because we love what we do, right? We love people feel good. But remember, people even in the wellness industry get sick and burn out. So 3-prong approach: nutrition, exercise, and that exercise doesn't need to be extreme, just needs to be sunlight, stimulate the pineal gland. So speaking of sunlight, I'll just throw this little tidbit into people.
Yeah.
Right? I always say to people, 20 minutes of early morning sun without your sunglasses, right? So you're stimulating the hypothalamus and the pineal gland in your brain for things like serotonin and dopamine and your happy hormones. Right? Again.
Awesome. Well, how nice are all those things
I
that
know.
you just
More
suggested?
more
More
baths
sun and more bugs
and more tea.
More tea.
Lovely. I think we should do Rachel's
Yeah.
question. So Rachel, you probably read it, Michelle. She asked about her son who has type 1 diabetes, and she's getting advice that he should be eating lots and lots of carbs.
Like wheat, pasta.
Yeah, white bread.
Yeah.
And that it's crucial for him to be healthy because he won't develop properly.
Yeah. And what is this woman's name again? I forget.
It's Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel, I really felt for you when I read that because it's such I'll just tell you, our experience with this. We treat a lot of type 1 diabetes patients, and they have opted out of the traditional medicine model, right? And so when they come to see us and they sort of move to this new way of adding a whole bunch of carbs in their diet. They're still keeping carbs and going carb high, but they're just not going the junk carbs. Lots of sweet potatoes, grains, brown rice, right? This is where grains come in to be very helpful.
Yeah.
So, but what I would say to somebody like Rachel is find somebody locally that is a very good integrative practitioner, because they're on this, they're aware of this. I take adults in these kind of situations, and I work with their GPs. And in fact, I've recently with an older man who's had type 1 diabetes all his life and just goes, my brother's a doctor, he doesn't want me doing this. And we did it, and wow, just such big significant changes. But so what I would suggest to her is find somebody who's local. I don't know where she lives, but you can always reach out to me, and I can try to recommend somebody from around the area. When you start this new way of adding these beautiful carbs in, right, and all of a sudden your child will become completely alive, I mean really alive with wonderful nutrients, right? What they'll have to do is they'll have to monitor his blood sugar quite often. And what will happen inevitably is his blood sugar will get better and better. This is what we've seen, better and better and better, to the point where you have to calibrate the medication so you don't have to use so much insulin. And it's such an awesome thing that we've seen in our practice. I've only ever done it with adults. I wouldn't do it personally with a child, even if a child came to my practice, because I just always think it's better to be working with a qualified GP. Have we seen it? Does it work? Absolutely. And Rachel, good on you. Go for it. If there's something that I can help you and advise you with to the best practitioners I know, just sing out to me.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Michelle. We're just looking through our question list now. Do we have another one?
I think we spoke.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
And I think that one's that one. Yeah, Michelle answered that one in the group.
Well, I thought of a good one, speaking about sunlight just before, because I know that Australians, because we've all been taught to put, slip, slop and slap and put our hats on and stay out of the sun.
Yeah.
There's becoming, everyone's becoming deficient in vitamin D. I know I'm deficient in
and
vitamin
I am
D.
as well.
So I would love to know what kind of foods we can have. Like, I'm getting my sunlight, but what else can I do to boost that?
Yeah, so yeah, that's very, very common. So there's several things around vitamin D. And then if we can segue back to iron, later, I remember there was a question about iron, and I think it's a really important topic.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about vitamin D. So yeah, I mean, we see 19 out of 20 people being diagnosed with a vitamin D deficiency. But on the other side of things, what you don't want is people supplementing with vitamin D unless they've actually been diagnosed. Because vitamin A vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K, those 4 vitamins, are fat-soluble vitamins. That means they will store in our fatty organs, right, if we have excess of them. Whereas vitamin D, we out, or vitamin C, we eliminate, right? So, but those 3 in excess, it could be storage, and those kind of things are not good to be stored in our fatty tissue, right?
Okay.
So people should not be taking a vitamin D supplement unless they know that they are deficient. So that's number 1. So sunlight, yeah, really important. So that's great. Some people actually get a vitamin D deficiency because there's a hormonal thing going on with it, because vitamin D is actually a hormone. It's not it's not a vitamin, right? So can we get vitamin D in our foods? Yes, we can get vitamin D through certain cheeses. You can see certain milks are actually enriched with vitamin D. I hope we're not really having any of that kind of stuff, that we're having, cleaner milks and stuff like that. Certainly your bony fishes and stuff like that would be a good source of vitamin D, but nothing nutritionally will be as good as a healthy dose of sunlight.
Wow. Good to know.
Okay.
We'll have to put that on our priority list.
Yep.
Yeah. But your milk and your cheeses and some of your bony fishes and stuff like that will be. So let's just go back to iron. Okay.
Yes.
So we see this a lot when people are making a shift to be healthy and they move away from red meat, or, sometimes less in red meat, or less in what we call heme iron. So a couple of things. First of all, signs of low iron. Oh, that was it. Some woman wrote in and said, I'm extremely tired.
Yes.
So I said tiredness can be multifactorial, right? So, so signs of iron deficiency are tired, are heavy periods. So here's the thing. People start to get heavy periods, they get lower iron. Lower iron leads to heavy periods to lead to low iron. And girls get caught in this vicious cycle of this until they break it. So how you know you have low iron is when you have a blood test, you need to ask your doctor to have your blood, your iron studies, right? So instead of just getting iron as one iron, what you want to see is your ferritin, your saturation, transferrin, right? So those are a better indicator of where your iron stores are at. So the other thing, it's a big sign and symptom of iron deficiency, and a lot of doctors don't even know this yet, is anxiety and depression. So the biochemical pathway to many, many processes in our body require iron. So I really want, we would see 19 out of 20 young girls with iron deficiency.
Wow.
Yeah. So, exhaustion. And then of course, the other thing that happens is when you have low iron stores, you're much more susceptible to illnesses and infections, right? You start to boost somebody's iron stores, hopefully just through food. But sometimes when iron gets low, you need to actually get a supplement, boost their stores really quickly, get them off the supplement, and then get them to eat things like parsley, lentil, are full of iron, right? Now, when people are eating red meats, which what we call heme iron, always get them to have a glass of water with lemon or lime in it. Because when heme iron is combined with vitamin C, it increases the iron so much.
Wow.
Awesome.
So it's like getting like a triple bang for your buck.
Amazing.
But really important for you girls to share that message with other young girls, or just people in general. Low iron stores, you're really making people feel tired, exhausted, moody. And you know what all that leads to? That leads to people eating junk food because they are, like emotionally eating.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. And me and Emma always talk about this, how everything is connected, and you can be diagnosed with something, but then you can then find out actually you're only low in that because you were low in this, and that meant you couldn't absorb that, and very confusing.
But you make it so simple.
You make it very simple.
Oh, well, thank you. But it is amazing, when we see people suffering from anxiety and depression. As you girls know, I'm not against modern medication at all. I come from a family of doctors. But when people come into our practice and they say, I'm thinking about going on an antidepressant, an SSRI or something like that, I go, that's fine. But first, we're going to test your iron. And if your iron's really low, you're going to give me 8 weeks to pick that iron back up. Most of the time, if it's a low iron, you get them getting their energy back, their iron. And all of a sudden, like, I'm all right. I'm all right. I can get through that.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Fascinating.
Oh, I know. It is absolutely amazing. And Carly, you're so right. The human body, as you start to get more and more into this, is unbelievable how everything is connected to everything.
Yeah, it really is.
So
Oh, I mean,
yeah.
what were you going to say, Michelle?
I was just gonna say another thing about, vitamin D and bones and stuff like that, and how this is just another example how everything is connected to everything. When people start eating too high protein diet, right? If their diet gets really, really high in protein, and they don't add all those green leafy vegetables in, this body with high protein can become acidic, right?
Wow.
You're going to be making sure you're adding the alkalizing vegetables.
Yeah.
So stay with me, everybody, on this. So a very acidic body, our bodies are so smart. When our body gets acidic like that, all of a sudden we think we have arthritis, but it's not arthritis. We think we have gout, but it's not gout. It's just the body's gotten inflamed, right? So one of the crazy things that's happening in our world right now is people are getting osteopenia or osteoporosis way before they should be. This used to be a disease of older people. But what happens is because the body is so acidic and so inflamed, and so it goes to our bones, which are made of calcium, which are alkalizing, and it starts to leach the calcium from our bones. So that it gets this beautiful, nice acid-alkaline ratio, because that's where our bodies want to be, right? So we have developed this osteoporosis and osteopenia because we haven't been very good in recent years at going, okay, as I move to higher protein, I need to make sure I'm coupling that with lots and lots of veggies to keep my body in this beautiful balance. Really important.
Yeah, that's so important.
important.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think we could talk to Michelle like all
All
night
night.
long and get like so much new knowledge and so many aha moments and so many things to action, which has been, I think, the best thing about talking to you, Michelle, is that you've given us like straight up advice on how we can get over these things that people are suffering from, or how we can better ourselves. So
just to feel good every day.
It's been absolutely amazing talking to you. Now, before we do go, Michelle, we want you to tell everybody where they can find you and where they can find more information about what you do.
Oh, thank you. Great. Okay, so it's a bit of a tricky name, right? Michele with one L, Chevalley, Chevalley, Hedge. But you can find me at ahealthyview.com.au. So the website's been up and going forever, but we're just about to get a brand new website next week as well, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah, it looks really good. And sing out to me. I always say this to people, what I do is a pleasure and a purpose. Don't send me an email and say, I'm sorry to bother you, because no one's ever a bother. It's an absolute pleasure. And find me on Facebook at A Healthy View, Instagram at A Healthy View, or on my website. But
Yay. Oh, it has been absolutely amazing talking to you, Michelle. And we do want to say thank you so much again for your time and your energy.
We're so grateful.
So grateful. And it's just been such a pleasure talking to you. And we can't wait to talk to you next time.
Yeah, awesome. Keep me in mind for anything, girls. And next time you're in Sydney, please meet me for lunch.
Of course. We'll see you soon.
All right, girls. Lots of love, everybody.
Bye.